I've done it. After many months away and starting from the bottom, now I'm here. No, but serious. Starting from bronze rank, I made it back to the top. For my boy, Frog the Jam. We did it. We hit master rank with the one and only Goblin Bikers. And to be honest, it wasn't that hard because this deck is so good. Of course, it's got its weaknesses, but I'll get into that once we go through the deck profile. But yes, today I'm going to do my deck profile, which will consist of the deck profile itself, pros and cons, then ending with 2 1-card combos. But before I get into that, I need to say, if you are new to my channel and haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button to be up to date with all my Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel content and to be updated when I live stream. And secondly, I have a bit of a cough, so now it sounds like I'm doing a bit of an ASMR, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. I wanna get this content out for you, so I will work even if I have a cough. With that being said, let's get on with my Biker Gang deck profile. Just realized my webcam covers some of the card. Oh well, 3 Maxi. I mean, it's Maxi. I can't believe after all this time being away, it's still at 3. Why? 3 tour guides. This is one of your 1-card starters, one of the best cards to have in your starting hand, especially going first, and one of your goblins is a fiend. And even if you didn't have the fiend goblin in your deck, you could still use a tour guide to get the next tour guide, so doesn't matter. 2 ghost ogre. I think this hand trap is slept on. I faced a few decks that use it, but I don't see it that much. And even when I returned to the game and I was trying to look at some hand trap tier lists to see what's the hand traps to use in this current meta, I just feel like people are putting Ghost Ogre like B tier. Honestly, my personal opinion, if we're going with S, A, B, C, and D, I'm putting Ogre in A tier in my opinion. I think this card is solid right now. It can hurt decks like the meta decks, Yubel. It was hurting Tenpai and it will destroy them when it comes to the ban list. Or by the time this video is out, they've probably been hit now. They hit decks like Centurions, Fire Kings. I mean, as long as they don't set up and you use it on, I can't remember if it's that continuous spell or the field, it's one of them, but you can use it on that. It doesn't even have to just be the meta decks. You can even hit it on cards like Big Gabonga. You can hit it on Mathmic when they're trying to link climb and that level 3, I think it's called, I can't remember his name, but the link 3 one who needs to be on the field could stop cards like Giant Sprite or Sprite Giant. The XYZ needs to be on the field when activating it. Stops IP and Little Knight. This card is so versatile and I just think people are sleeping on it. I'm playing 2 in all my decks right now. I love it. I was considering playing 3. That's how much I like it. The 3 Teratop and the 1 Tactenborg, I think that's how you say it. It's the whole package. You need to play these 3 and 1. It's a free rank 3, so 1-card starter. You can bait out cards like Imperm, Ash, if you have another level 3 in your hand. Me personally, I prefer seeing this over a tour guide because again, you can bait out your opponent's hand traps if you have another level 3 in your hand. 3 Ash, I mean, S tier hand trap is a must. Stops Maxi, stops searches. I mean, it's a 3. I mean, I can't imagine anyone not playing 3. 1 Psychic Wheeler and 1 Tracker. They do the same thing. As long as you have a level 3 on the field, you can special summon them from your hand. So yeah, if you have a tour guide or you have your Teratop on the field and they get negated, you can special summon this from your hand. Especially with the tour guide, it really helps with her since C is your normal summon and works well with emergency teleport. Amazing with this since they're psychic. So yeah, 2 emergency teleport, but I shouldn't even really done this one because we're still on the monsters. However, emergency teleport can also summon the next monster, 1 Nyan Yan. One of her, because especially if you can get her on the field with emergency teleport and then you put her into the grave, as long as you have another level 3 in your hand, next turn you're guaranteed to get into a rank 3 because you summon them, boom, she can go onto the field, and then you go into XYZ and then she goes back into the grave. So you can basically keep using her every single turn as long as you have a level 3 in your hand. Of course, it stops you from using links, but you usually go into your link on your first turn and that's about it. Unless you really have to go into Little Knight, then yeah, you can't use her, but that's rare. It's usually first turn into IP, then IP into Little Knight. And if you have her in your grave, you can go into a certain XYZ. Once I get into him, I'll explain how, and it works so well. Now the Goblin Bikers. 3 Doug, I mean, he's your searcher for spells and traps. He can special summon as long as you have an XYZ with material on the field or your opponent. And as I said, he's your searcher, so a must at 3. 1 Sploder. I was considering 2 in the past, but I think 1's fine because he uses his effect in the graveyard on your opponent's turn. So he can always come back, and at worst, if you need him to come back, you can always use your spell card to bring him back from the graveyard into your hand. So I just feel like, yeah, you don't need 2. 1's enough. If he gets called by or crowed, then it can be annoying, but it's not the end of the world. You don't really want to draw him, you want to search him. 1 Mac. Some people don't even play this. I think he's great. If I open up with him or at the end of the turn with Big Gobonga, I'll attach Mac from the deck into Big Gobonga, because when I detach Mac, you know, that he can also be another special summon. Or let's say I go into Big Gobonga and my opponent's Mac Seed or impermed me and I have Mac in hand, I can still use him for my opponent's turn because I don't need him in the graveyard. He can be activated from the hand. Sometimes the issue is getting your goblins into the graveyard, and when you can't, it stops you from using your effects because you can't special summon on your opponent's turn. But Mac can. He can be from your hand or your graveyard, it doesn't matter. So it just helps your Big Gobonga get his effect off. I like him. And if you do have Tactum Borg in your hand, you can always normal summon Mac, special summon Tactum Borg. I have to do that every time, and boom, you got rank 3 there because he's also wind. And I play 2 Merciless. I see a lot of decks play 1. I personally play 2. However, I could drop to 1. Probably want to test it. However, I am happy with 2, and that's how I got to master rank. There was times when I would have Doug on his own or any other goblin. You can only normal summon them if you don't have an XYZ. But if you have Merciless and any other goblin, you're guaranteed into a rank 3, unless of course you get impermed or veilured. But if they don't, you can have your rank 3. But if you open up any other goblins and no tour guide or terratop, there's not much you can do, and it was so frustrating. Yeah, you need to get into your rank 3. If you can't get 2 level 3s onto the field, you're in big trouble. So it just gives you a better chance of drawing Merciless, because you don't really care if you draw her. And if you get her into your graveyard and it's still your turn, you can then use her effect to go back onto the field. So I think he's good. Now for the spell cards, we've got the 3 Grand Entrance. You have to play 3. It's your searcher and possibly 3 special summon as long as you have an XYZ on the field. Yeah, you have to play 3. I mean, it's your searcher, it's your rotor. You're not going to play 1 rotor unless it's limited. I also like the second effect, so you can banish and then detach from the material and then add back a goblin. As I said, if Sploder's in the grave and you want to add him back to your hand, you can with this. 2 Called by the Graves. I mean, there's hand traps everywhere, flying at left, right, center. You want to be prepared. The 1 Cross Out, same reason. 2 Forbidden Droplets. I like this card a lot. I've tested without it and with it. So far, I have preferred with Droplet, because if you do have your virtual world in your hand, or you do have some goblins in your hand which you would prefer in the graveyard, or even if you have your full armored XYZ trap card, you can dump them for the negations. It's a very good card. Like I said, so far I've tested with and without it, and so far I've preferred with it, so I will continue to keep using it. The only thing I could say is I could possibly drop it to 1, but those times when you do have it in your hand, it does feel good, because it's like a safety net, you know. It's like, just in case things go bad and they like negate your monsters or something, you have Droplet as that safety net. Or if they try to attack over your monster, you Droplet them in damage step, boom, they lose half their attack, and you should be able to defeat them. Now for the traps, 3 Impermanence, similar to Ash, it's just so good. It's a trap card, can't be called by, negates a monster. Your 1 Full Armored XYZ. I love the boss monster. I love it. You can search it easily in this deck. I mean, to go into the full armored package is so easy. I love it. I always wanted to play that package. I tried in other decks and it wasn't as good or wasn't as consistent. But for Goblin Bikers, it was made for this deck, 100%. And the last card in your main deck, Grand Pileup. I love this card. You know what? I tested without it before. I even tried out the other trap card. I didn't realize how much I love this card. Like, I really want to end with this card set. But of course, you have to prioritize your spell card with Doug. I just feel a bit nervous when I don't have it. The fact that you can go into your rank 6 Goblin with any XYZ on the field, protect yourself from destruction, and then your rank 6 can suck up one of their spells or traps. Like, it can suck it real good. No, really, it's just strong. Your rank 6 is solid card. I used to underestimate it. Again, once I started using this, I realized how good that card is. The fact that it can just special summon on your next turn for free. It's once per duel, but it's for free. You can literally special summon him, attack, and then go into Zeus if you wanted. Like, it's just, oh, so good. So I would always recommend playing this at least at 1. Now we're on to the extra deck. 1 Fortune Tune. It's for the Zeus. You know, if your opponent has a lot of targeting cards, you go into this, attack, go straight to Zeus, or go into Downed Magician for the 4 material Zeus, and that's downed for you just from extra material. One number 75. I could not be bothered saying the long ass name, so I'm just gonna say the number. Negation, easy to go into. You can go in it from Terratops, or when it's your opponent's turn and you start using Sploder, bring out Doug, you can use Full Armored Trap to go into this. Or the next card, which I talked about before, Ashura King. Like, I love this card. I've OTK'd so many times. And if you have your Nyan in your graveyard, use Sploder, bring out Doug, and then you can chain block with Doug and Nyan. I'm just gonna say Virtual World is just quicker. So you chain link 1 Doug, chain link 2 Virtual World, boom, you get the search, and Nyan comes on the field. Use your Full Armored Trap, go into Ashura King, boom. It's so good. It's solid. Obviously though, if you still have your IP, you have to use your IP before this combo, or then you can't go into SP, and it's just a waste. Then IP is just there for no reason. Well, until next turn. XYZ Armor Torpedo. I mean, it's the full package. Might as well just show them now. We got obviously Fortress, and lastly Dark Knight Lancer. I love this card. Non-targeting suck. It's just the best suck. Honestly, I love making my opponent waste their Dragoon Negate, go into Dark Knight, or Dark Knight still on the field, and then you just suck Dragoon easy. The power of sucking. The big boy himself. 2 big Gabonga, oh boy. And the thing is, the big in the name is not for his bike. If you know, you know. It's for his muscles. If you wasn't thinking of that, what was you thinking of? I mean, you have to play 2. Some people could play 3, but I think 2's the magic number. 1's not enough, 100% not enough, just in case something goes wrong. 2, perfect number. It's your must card. I mean, this deck can't function without him pretty much. Yeah, I'm not going to explain why. Read his effect, put 2 in your deck, end of. And the 1 crazy beast. Again, as I said, I underestimated him before. I did not realize how powerful this guy is. I wish there was a way to always get him onto the field every game, but you can't. You need to prioritize your spell with Doug. But if you have your spell, you can then search the trap. So yeah, the last XYZ's Zeus. I mean, Zeus, best XYZ in my opinion. And who's second? Typhon. Some people say Typhon's the best. I still personally think Zeus is, because if you can have 4 materials on him, that's 2 sends, that's 2 wipes. It's just so OP. Typhon, I mean, he is busted because, you know, you can go into him anytime your opponent goes into 2 extra deck monsters. He's a free summon. It's a very good debate. Let me know in the comments who you think's the best. Now the last cards in my extra deck: IP Masquerina, SP Little Knight. They go together, or I mean, SP Little Knight can be solo. And lastly, Underworld Goddess. Well, 1, I have to play it because it's a royal. It's beautiful. And 2, it's just for those times when you really do have a problematic card and you just can't get rid of it. Yeah, it's annoying because you have to use 4 of your monsters, but if there's a card you just can't get rid of because it can't be targeted, or they've stopped you from using Dark Lancer, or maybe the monster is unaffected by effects, this is your only out. So there you go, that is the deck profile. I will quickly say the pros and cons, and then we'll get into the 1 card combos. I will say as well, next Friday, this is why you need to subscribe, I will also be showing a montage on this deck, the wins I got from ranked to get into master rank. As you can see here, 10 replays. Not all of them will be in the montage. I'll usually pick at least 5, but if there's more than 5, I'll add them in. Now the pros are you can play a good amount of hand traps. Of course, not no snake eyes or tempai level, but what is it, 13 going second cards, 3 Maxi, 3 Imperm, 3 Ash, 2 Ogre, which is 11, and then the 2 Forbidden Droplet. So that's 13 cards for going second or going first, because you can use them either turn. So it's a good amount, you know. Again, it's not the top tier, because those top tier decks usually can play 15 to 20, but still 13 is good enough. You usually start with 1 or 2, so yeah, as long as you use them at the right time. Another pro, which is one of my favorites, is it can play through multiple disruptions. If you do have your Terratops, if you do have your emergency teleport, you can bait your opponent into using some hand traps, and you can just play through them. Especially if you go into your bigger bonga, they try to imperm you, but you already have your dug in hand, or you already have your grand entrance in hand. You can still make the plays, and you can still have an amazing end board by the end of your turn. Of course, this deck is still a rogue deck, so you can be stopped with just 1 imperm or 1 ash if you don't open up good enough. But if you open up a good hand, you can easily play over 2, 3 hand traps. I've done it many times. Of course, if you get hit by 3 hand traps, that means your end board ain't gonna be OP, but then your opponent's already used 3 of their 5 cards. By the time it's their turn, they're gonna have 3 cards, and you can still have like 2 or 3 interruptions on your field. So yeah, I'd still say that's worth it. Another pro is, I really think Dark Knight Lance is a great card. And he's so easy to get out in this deck. Not only when he's out on the field and he's got torpedo, he can be protected from destructions once, he can't be targeted, and as I said, he's a free suck that doesn't target himself, so he can really get rid of any monster on the field as long as they can be affected by effect cards. Another pro is this deck absolutely destroys other XYZ decks. Of course, you can still lose, you know, sometimes you just don't have the best hand, or your opponent opens up the nuts, and yeah, you still can't do anything. But I think this deck is going to be great when Razil, is it Razil or Rizil? I think it's Razil, when they come to this game, because they love XYZs. So I feel like this is going to be the best anti-meta deck, because you can just keep taking their materials and you're special summoning for free. So I do think that's going to be a great pro. Now for the cons, it's hurt bad by Maxi. You could just end with 1 big Gabonga. I have done that a few times. You make them draw once or possibly twice, depending on what they maxied. And if you do that, you could just search Mac, as I mentioned, have him in your hand, so when it is your opponent's turn, at least you can attach their monster when they summon it. But then that's it. You have to hope that your hand traps or your set cards are good enough to help you survive. Yeah, unless you want your opponent to draw like 10 cards, 1 big Gabonga is pretty much it. Another big con, and I only found this out like the other day, big Gabonga is, I didn't realize he's this much of a problem if your opponent deals with him. If you don't have a follow-up to like an Ash or an Imperm, your turn is pretty much done, because you can't summon anymore. If they do Ash or Imperm, you need Dug or Grand Entrance in your hand, or your turn's literally done. Like, that's it. But also, if your opponent ogres him, this is why I mentioned about ogre on Big Gabonga. If they ogre him, your turn's done again, because you have nothing to detach for all your monsters. So you've got nothing on field. Ogre absolutely destroys this deck if your opponent has it. They just have to wait for Big Gabonga and boom. Oh man, that's like a massive car crash to this deck. You just have to hope you have Cool By or Cross Out. Yeah, this is what I mean. This deck does rely heavily on Big Gabonga. And I would say the biggest con to this deck, and this is why I always want to get Crazy Beast onto the field, it has no protection to spells and traps. Like, Crazy Beast is the only one. If your opponent has, for some reason, Lightning Storm or Raigeki, yeah, unless you have your trap that can go into Crazy Beast, because you could just chain and Crazy Beast protects you. Love that effect. Yeah, your whole field is gone, because obviously you're not going to have your Dark Lance already equipped. You're waiting, so you can't say, oh well, he's equipped. You can't, like, you're waiting for that moment. So if your opponent has some form of spell or trap that destroys your field, it hurts. And even, it doesn't even have to destroy. Like, if they have like a triple tactics or just a spell or trap that can either negate, take control, destroy, whatever, banish, you don't have any forms of negation. You don't. The only negate you have is Cross Out. Yeah, that is your only form, or if you imperm on that column. But yeah, we're not relying on that. So yeah, this deck is really hurt by spells and traps. And I would say the last con is if you don't have your 1 card starters and you only have like a dog, you have to hope that you've opened up with either any of the psychic cards, tracker or wheeler, or emergency teleport, because you normal dog, that is it. If you have no other extender, your turn is done. That is so frustrating when that happens, because even if you have dug and you search the spell card can't even special summon the card. You only search and that's it, you end your turn. It's so annoying when that happens. That's why I play 2 merciless, because there's times when I open up just dog and it's like great, or dog and another goblin. It's like, okay, cool, what do I do? Nothing, just 1 normal summon. But at least with merciless, you normal summon merciless and then dug. But yeah, they are the only pros and cons I can think of from the top of my head. I don't write down notes, I just say in the moment of what I think. One thing left to do, and that's the 1 card combos. Okay, so here's the first one after many attempts of just constantly retrying until you get Tour Guide or Terratop onto hand. I wish there was a mode where you can just choose your starting hand. So annoying. But yeah, here we go. So, of course, you normal summon your Tour Guide. Oh, let me turn it off so it doesn't keep doing that. You bring out Merciless. Another reason why I play 2, in case you do draw one, is either you use the Merciless in your hand or use a Tour Guide from your deck. You don't use that effect because it's negated. Go into Big Gabonga. If they had Ogre, I've got Cooled By, so I'm happy. Use Big Gabonga. Bring out Doug. You can either use Doug now or go into Fortress. I like to go into Fortress first, because in case they have like a Nibiru, I at least search the trap card just to thin out the deck. So bring out Merciless, doesn't matter. Get the trap. Use Doug's effect. I use Big Gabonga last because, or detach last, because in case they have a Bestial, they can banish your Big Gabonga and you don't want that. So I always use Big Gabonga last. Get your spell, have to prioritize it. I've tried combos to see if I could do the trap instead, but nah, you need it. Now activate that. Oh, I just realized Sploder's in my hand. You're supposed to search out Sploder. If you already have him in your hand, I would probably then just get Mac. Yeah, just in case something happens to your Sploder in the graveyard, you can always use Mac from your hand. But yeah, you want to now use Sploder. And the great thing about this is they can't chain Bestials because it's continuing the effect. Use Sploder, bring out Big Gabonga. Sorry for the cough. Go into Dark Knight Lancer. Now use Merciless. Special summon onto the field. Nope. Go into Torpedo. Make sure to use Merciless so Merciless doesn't get banished. Now we'll get your 1 draw. Oh, what a draw. Nice Ogre. And then you finish it with IP using Torpedo and Doug. Use Dark Knights to bring back Fortress. Oh, it is called Dark Knight. You might as well call him Batman then. That's pretty cool. Just in case, yeah, you bring back Fortress just in case you had to use full armored on Big Gabonga. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. They're using something to get rid of Big Gabonga, so you can always chain that, and that way you get your full armored into the grave. And there we go. We end. We have IP, Dark Knight, Bigger Bonga, and we drew into the Ghost Ogre, but that could be anything. But what we do have is an extra Mac in hand, but again, that's because we had Sploder in our hand already. So realistically, this is our end. Whatever, it doesn't matter at this point. And the great thing about this is, let's see if I can quickly show it. Okay, cool, let's just show it. Let's say we use Sploder. Sploder effect. Oh, this could take a while. Okay, so let me just quickly explain. Yeah, obviously you bring out Dog, search. You can use big Bonga, suck that card, and then use your. This is where you can choose. You can either go into your full armored XYZ now and bring out number 76, or you can use Mac to take off the detach from Bigger Bonga and then go into Asura King. So you can choose, and then once your Bigger Bonga has no more material, you could then use IP into Bigger Bonga to go into SP. So yeah, you have so many interruptions. So SP is 2 interruptions, Bigger Bonga is 1, Dark Knight is 1, and then yeah, if you have Asura King or number 76, that's 1. So with one card you can have 5 interruptions, and then you have plays for next turn. As long as they don't wipe out your whole field, you have plays for the next turn. And again, we don't even know what your next or your other 4 cards are. They could be Ogres, Maxis, Ashes, Impums. Amazing. So yeah, that is the first. Finally, oh my gosh, that took a while to get the Teratop. Okay, Teratop is pretty much the exact same combo as the Tour Guide. The only difference is you don't normal summon. So I prefer Teratop than Tour Guide. The pro with Tour Guide is you can get Merciless into the grave, while Teratop you can't. So of course you do this whole special summoning and adding. And then yeah, you pretty much the same combo. Let's speed this up. Just realized I have full armored XYZ in hand. If you don't have it, you would then search it with Fortress, but since I have it, I have to now try and remove the materials from Fortress so I can go into Dark Knight, which is easy with this deck anyway. Okay, so before we went into Torpedo with Merciless, because we had Merciless in the grave, this one we had to go with Doug and Sploder, and the way to get your next monster onto the field is you use Grand Entrance, remove from Fortress, add back Doug. I mean, it doesn't really matter because they both, regardless, have to be normal summoned. And then go into the IP. And then bring out the Dark Knight. Batman. So because we started with full armored in our hand, we don't use Dark Lance's effect, or sorry, Batman's effect, because he would then return Torpedo. You don't want that, so you just set. But if you didn't start with full armored XYZ in your hand, you would then, instead of what I just did, you would have went into Dark Knight, then used Grand Entrance to detach from Dark Knight, and then blah blah blah. So there you go. That is the one card combos. I mean, the same thing, same field, just different cards. I love it. One card brings out 5 powerful interruptions, banishes and sucks. I mean, who doesn't love that? My favorite form of interruption has always been sucking and attaching, because it stops cards that get effects when they go to the graveyard, or even cards that get banished. You know, attaching your opponent's monster is the best removal. Honestly, it's the best removal. Well, you could say banishing face down as well, but to be fair though, banishing face down removes them from the game completely. So that's probably number one, and then this is number two. I will say, if you start with both Teratop and Tour Guide, I would go into Teratop first, obviously you have to, and then go into number 75 with him. Go straight into him in case your opponent has an Ash or worse, Nibiru, because Nibiru hurts this deck, and this just protects it. I always save him for Nibiru. I've been Nibiru before, or actually a few times. So when you have a number 75 and then you put him out and then you normal summon your Tour Guide, you won't care anymore if they have Nibiru because you're protected. So yeah, again, if you have Teratop and Tour Guide, go Teratop into number 75 and then do your combo, this exact combo. And in case you're asking what happens if you do have Psychic Tracker or Emergency Teleport in your hand or extra extenders, I've tried things to make more interruptions for the next turn, but honestly what I came to was, why overextend? Why use all your resources? You already got 5 solid interruptions here, you know, and look at my hand. I got Maxi and the Imperm. Even if we didn't have the Maxi, we just had the Imperm, that's still 6 interruptions on the field. You could always use the Psychic Tracker or the Emergency Teleport or that one extra extender next turn when you want to continue, in case your opponent gets rid of all your cards but they've got no more now because they had to get rid of all yours. At least then you got something for the next turn. Why use everything? You don't need to. I have tested things like going into Ashura King or just something extra, and honestly it's just, you don't need to. I feel like you're putting out more of your resources, and if your opponent does have a card like Raigeki or Nibiru or something, you're just putting yourself in a worse spot. So me personally, Emergency Teleport's different. I would like to put Virtual World Nyanyan into the graveyard, but things like Psychic Tracker, sometimes it's just nice to keep in your hand. As long as you can get your full combo, you don't need to go crazy. But that's my opinion. What you already have on the field is amazing. As I said, at most, if you got the extenders, at most go into number 75 just to protect yourself from the Nibiru. Or if you really want your big bonga to go off and you don't have Cooled by your Crossout, then use that to protect from your Ash. I don't feel like you need to overextend into other things and have your whole field filled, because you still need to have space. Remember, you need to have space so your Sploder can get back onto the field. So there you have it, the deck profile, the pros and cons, and the 1-card combos. Oh, it's a long video, but I like to be in depth with my deck profiles. I like to show you the goods and the bads and the uglies, the fuglies, the fun, the sucking. Because obviously you still have to use UR to get decks like this. I don't want you to waste your UR. You watch this video and you decide for yourself, is it worth spending your UR or your gems to get this deck? Me personally, I find this deck extremely fun. To me, it's a modern Burning Abyss. I've said it to everyone. Burning Abyss is all about spamming level 3s and XYZ. This deck is all about spamming level 3s and XYZs. So I just think if Burning Abyss was in today's era of Yu-Gi-Oh, it would be something like this. And when this deck gets its support, I want to be ready. So just like Memento with Goblin Biker, I want to use it now. So when that support does hit, I want to be ready. I don't need to test things out for a week. No, I get the new cards, I make the deck within a day and get to Master 1 within, let's be realistic, within an hour. But no, really get to Master 1 with them. And I do believe I can. I even think I can now. Like I said, I got from Bronze to Master 5. I'm confident I could, but it will be hard. Because in the end, it still is a rogue deck. With its new support, it could be tier 3. No, it will be at least tier 3 in my opinion. Could be tier 2. Anyway, that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would appreciate it if you left a thumbs up. And as I said earlier in the video, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Now, with that all being said, it's time for me to go ride away into the sunset, just like Big Gabonga. You could just call me the real life Big Gabonga. Slouser is outer.